All right, May 13th, chest day workout breakdown. This is a good one. I think lots of little things we can talk about here. High-low supersets. So real quick, high-low is just, you're going to start at a certain percentage and then you're going to superset it with a lesser percentage just to get that out of the way. It's just a different variation, a different way to attack whatever it is we're trying to do. Very easy to do on the primary lifts, incredibly hard on supplementary lifts. But supersets, I think this is the talking point I kind of wanted to go over. We don't really get this time in class to break these things down. Like, what's the benefit of doing a superset? Supersets are very comparable, and they're not identical, but they're very comparable to working to failure, which I know a lot of people don't love that word, but it's a real thing in fitness. Like, you have to approach those thresholds in order to take the next step a lot of times. Supersets and similarly failure, not that this video is about failure, but the three main things that they're fantastic at is muscular endurance, right? Like, you're doing 2 sets in 1, essentially, which is already very, very challenging. Efficiency in terms of time, like you save yourself a lot of time, and then just intensity. So those 3 things are kind of what rise to the top when you're talking supersets. And again, to talk about one of them in terms of efficiency, when we're trying to specifically achieve, or if I want to get something else in or promote something else in the workout, we don't have enough time to sit around and do 20 sets, right? It's just not everybody does 20 sets, but you know what I'm saying. To do 13, 14, 15, 16, some of you guys really do 20 sets in a class. We need to find better ways to be more efficient without losing the ability to progress. And that's where supersets and failure really come into play. So, the caveat to that whole thing is you have to do them correctly. So your numbers being accurate, your rep counts being accurate, and you putting the appropriate amount of effort into the superset is how this is actually going to work for us. So when we're set up like this, you have the chest press, 3 or 4 sets, obviously 2 minutes. You need the extra time of recovery because the sets are so intense. It could be argued that you actually need a little bit more time of recovery on here. But again, in terms of efficiency, we do want to get to other things. You guys will notice the rep count and the percentages. So on the flat bench, I didn't really want to give you flexibility on the percentages. We're trying to achieve something very specific here, but the rep counts have to have some flexibility given, again, it's group fitness, which a lot of you guys have been watching the videos. The gray area is always group fitness, right? I need to support my progression, and I need to support, somebody who's just starting to work out's progression. So that's why those flexibility and rep counts are there. That's also why those 3 to 4 sets are there. To dive a little bit deeper into that, like when you guys see these rep counts, when you see 3 to 7 and 5 to 10, like I'm putting the high end there as like the highest end possibility. So you can absolutely aim for 7 reps and 10 reps. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You just obviously need to be fairly conditioned, especially if you're going to use these percentages in order to achieve that. But that is the max amount you can get out of this. And when you're supersetting, the muscular endurance and capacity level is very, very challenging, right? Like, those are really hard. I think a big mistake a lot of people make is that they take too much time between the two movements. Obviously here it's just chest press, but switching in and out of your weights from 70% to 50%, like if you take 10, 12, 14 extra seconds before you make that transition, that plays a large role. I would like to think a lot of you guys have learned when you dilute your time of recoveries, it makes a huge difference. And if you're somebody that tracks things and writes things down, you've got to pay attention to your time of recovery. We've always said priority 1 is your time of recovery. Make sure you clock it. Make sure you're as accurate as possible. That is no different here. So anyways, chest press, you've got the 70%, immediately into the 50%. Like I said, those 3 things really come to the surface when we're talking about, again, efficiency, intensity level, obviously, and muscular endurance. When you go to the incline press, everything kind of comes down a little bit. The ranges of percentages increase. If you're wondering why, there's a lot of volatility on incline press, mainly females. Not saying men don't suffer from this, but most females really, really struggle on the incline press. It's not an area that's overly developed. Most females don't have a background in lifting really at any point in their life. So it just takes time and takes years, literally, to develop muscle tissue and build lean muscle tissue. And then this is really how you do it. And again, for any of you thinking like, are supersets worse than doing, like I said earlier, like 3 exercises or 4 exercises, 4 or 5 sets? The answer is no if they're done correctly, okay? And what I mean by done correctly is that you are pretty much aiming for the highest rep count in each of these as you physically can handle. And you're not going to know what that is until you try. So if you grab 40% on the incline press and you aim for 7 reps and you hit it, that's fantastic. You note it, you put the weight down. Maybe you grab a lighter weight, which is the goal for the second part of this, and you aim for 10. Let's say you only get 8. Well, now I know when I do a high-low superset and incline, I can do 7 and 8. And I'm going to see if I can maintain that for all 3 or 4 of these sets. And what you're going to realize is the likelihood is that you probably can't, because your muscular endurance and your capacity levels are just not high enough, especially if you're fairly new. So that's the kind of stuff you want to write down. Now, I didn't put tracking on either of these because we just don't do them enough. You're more than welcome to write these down if you're organized enough and it's something you can find in the future. We have done high-low supersets in the past. They will come back at some point, but it's just not something that is reoccurring, or the frequency isn't high enough for me to tell you guys to track that. It kind of seems like it'd get lost in translation. Now, again, we're doing supersets. I really wanted you to get to this AMRAP. So I am very big on, obviously, about 60-ish%. It's imperfect. It's never going to be perfect. But about 60% we lean towards resistance training. 40% we lean towards conditioning and conditioning the muscle that we build. I am huge into that personally and as a group. It works really, really well. And again, efficiency in our lives is just so important. I think a lot of you, I'm figuring that out as I'm aging, and you get married and you have kids, or you get surgeries and setbacks and just life hits you. I still want to make progress through all of that. In order to do that, I need to be as efficient as possible. In order for that to happen in this 30 minutes, you guys have to have time to do this Metcon and work on the conditioning pieces. So that's what that's there for. I do think very frequently, I've been hitting on this with the trainers, a lot of people see these AMRAPs at the end of blocks and they think they're just kind of busy time. They're not. I baked in time, this 30 minutes, the best of my ability for you guys to get to this and spend some serious time on it, not to just get to it and kind of mosey through it. If that's what you're doing, it's still better than doing nothing. But that's not the point. The goal is for you to get to this AMRAP and bust some ass and see how high you truly can climb this ladder with the exercises listed, to get as much out of this block or workout in general as you can. So just, again, I'm going to keep hitting that until I feel like the gym has kind of come around to understanding that it's not busy work. I'm meaning for you to get to this with X amount of time. The second block, obviously, it's still carry month. I've come around to the carry. I really was excited to do the carry month. I kind of wish I'd done it earlier. That being said, we couldn't really do it in the old gym. So maybe we couldn't have done it earlier, but they're fantastic. And I want to find ways to start incorporating this even more after carry month. The value that they bring and kind of the response from you guys has been fantastic. And then me doing it on a personal level, I'm even realizing, holy crap, it's just nuts. So obviously a pandemic in our culture is posture as you guys age, given a lot of the desk jobs. In fact, a lot of people just accumulate these muscle imbalances because they don't do anything active, especially lifting. These carries are they're so good, and it's fun because there's so many variations to them. So this Metcon, you have 12 minutes to, again, climb another ladder. Didn't do that on purpose. I realized after I wrote it, I did ladder and then another ladder. I try not to do that normally, but it just happened. So apologies ahead of time. Although I really like ladders, clearly. So either 100, 150 meters. Obviously, when you see distances that short, you are trying to make them as aggressive as possible while still trying to achieve a transition, like a doable transition. I don't want you sprinting 100, 150 meters and then having to take a 30-second breather. The goal is to get off the treadmill and transition over to the floor and grab these weights as quickly as you can. You guys are going to be doing half shuttles here. And if you haven't had the chance to do a staggered carry yet, a staggered carry is, if I grab a 70-pound dumbbell in my right hand, I'm going to have a lesser weight in my left hand. I think a popular question is what is the right percentages there? I think the 70-100 kind of concept is a good idea. 60-100, meaning this is crazy, obviously, but if I had a 100-pound dumbbell in my right hand, I would take 70% of that weight and put it in my left hand, or 60% of it. The goal of the staggered carry, again, is to challenge lateral flexion in your spine and in your trunk, right? And if you guys have done a suitcase carry, it's a more exaggerated version of a staggered carry, right? If I'm loaded on one side, I need to challenge, obviously, my trunk and my spine from flopping to that loaded side. Staggered carry, although it's more gross weight, still promotes the same concept, just more load on your spine in general because it's 2 dumbbells, but the same idea occurs. The lighter side should be fighting to keep my trunk or my spine from flexing to the heavier side, right? So again, it's just a different variation. I love all these variations. So it'll be interesting to see how high people get in 12 minutes. Like how far into this ladder can you guys get in 12 minutes? It'll be interesting. But yeah, keep that 60, 60, 100, 70, 100 concept in mind when you guys do get to May 13th, which I think is next Tuesday, I believe. So this video will be out way ahead of them. Obviously, if you guys have questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy.